Hi there friends, and welcome to my channel. In this and the next few videos, I'll be working on a really exciting project. Well, exciting for me, but I think you will like it as much as I do. If you probably been following me, you noticed that I've been doing a lot of fan art lately. Well, not a lot, but I've been mostly doing that and not much of my own stuff. So I started with Joker from Persona 5, that was the previous video, and now I thought maybe I should move on to Attack on Titan. First time I watched the show was actually several years ago, back when it had only one season. I watched it, to be honest, I wasn't that impressed, and then I moved on to other animes and kind of forgot about it. But recently it became such a big trend that I just had to check it out, and oh my god, like, it had like 3 more seasons, well, 2.5 more like, and it's actually good, and I'm actually impressed. I really enjoyed this. I am a person who loves complicated storylines, so I gotta say it was really nice seeing the massive twist the plot took around season 3 and 4. But the purpose of this video is not just to talk about how good the show is, but mostly about the art. I wanted to come back to the stained glass style I experimented with a few months ago and make it more a little like iconographic Christian artworks, with the very symbolic yet very simple compositions and of course the golden halo around the character's head. I decided to paint 4 characters: Eren, Mikasa, Armin, and of course everyone's favorite, Levi. In this video I'll be showing the process of painting Eren, and in the next few it will be the rest of the characters. My first step was of course sketching it all with a pencil, and my second was to go over it with a pen. I choose Sakura Pigma brand because they're waterproof, very black, and just very good quality. I put a lot of details into this painting using pens of different thicknesses to make sure that it of course is interesting, but also that so the different elements will pop out and won't get lost in all the lines. Though putting so much work so early on into the painting process did result in an issue that I will talk more about later in this video. For Eren, I chose his look in season 4 when he is going through his big time emo phase, grows his hair long, and has the dead inside look in his eyes. And he's facing forward in the picture with one of his hands raised to show the cut on it. And kinda reminds me of some depictions of Jesus Christ, which is so funny to me considering how Eren behaves in season 4. I wanted the background to not only enhance the character, but also to be a little symbolic. So behind Eren is the wall with massive cracks on it to kind of represent how he's breaking free, and fire behind the wall. In the triangle windows beside the main picture, you can see the eyes of Eren's Titan, and in the circle windows above it is the basement key, or just the top part. I wanted originally to do the entire basement key, but it just didn't really fit well in this circle, and I needed a more symmetrical shape, so instead I chose just the top part. Painting this type of style is not difficult at all, and it's actually really quick compared to others. But planning it, that's a completely different story. For me, it took so much time. I did like 3 sketches of each character. I really had to be careful with the composition and how to keep it consistent. I wanted to, although windows, and I say that like in quotation marks because it's like, you know, not actually illusion windows, more like. I needed to choose a consistent shape for all of them so it will actually look like a set of 4 artworks together. Once I'm done with the line art, I move on to the fun part, coloring. I start with the background, not because it's very necessary for a piece like this, but it's kind of a habit of mine to always start with the background. For the sky, I used a combination of blue, gray, and a little bit of dark red to kind of make it look like it's full of smoke. I colored each element of the sky in a flat wash, starting from the grayish blue, and slowly, as I progressed downwards towards the flame, I added more and more of the dark red. Once I finished the sky, I moved on to the wall, and I used brown combined with the same dark red I used for the sky. The color in question is called Hematite Violet from Daniel Smith, and it looks like this really dark, almost blood-colored red with tiny black particles in it, and it's really great when you want to add texture to your painting. I didn't want the wall to be just flat and boring, so I left some visible brushstrokes to make it a little more interesting. For most of my art, including this painting, I used 2 main brands of watercolor. First one is Saint Petersburg, which is the palette on the left, and I think my mom owned it before me, so it's pretty old and it's been in the family for quite a while. And Daniel Smith. While the sky and the wall are drying, I moved on to the top round element of the painting, where the basement key is. Deciding which colors I should use for this part was a little bit of a challenge. I wasn't sure what will work well with the painting and how exactly I should lay them out, but I thought it would be a good idea to use only colors that are already in the main panel, so it won't be, you know, too much. And I think it worked out great in the end. I painted the basement key in a combination of yellow and very light brown to kind of give it the bronze look, and the rest of this little composition is colored in red, green, and blue. Next step is Eren himself. I start with his head and then I moved on to the other parts of his body. His face is the most detailed part of this painting, though I had to be very careful not to overdo it, otherwise it will look really out of place. I start with a thin, very diluted layer of light brown and slowly add in more and more colors to make it vibrant, but also a little semi-realistic. I added more shades of red to his cheeks and some darker brown underneath his eyebrows. One of my concerns was that Eren will look too pale compared to the background around him, which is very vibrant and very detailed. So you'll see me adding more and more layers as the painting progresses to make sure that it's all very balanced. For the flames I chose very simple colors, yellow, orange, and red. I started with yellow because it is the lightest color out of the three. I was very careful not to go over the lines, yet of course I fail it sometimes. Not that it's a big deal, but it's just a little more annoying when I put on the other colors. After the flames dried, my next step is Eren's clothes, and that part was really easy because I had pretty large areas to work with and the colors are very uniform. I chose his clothes from that one scene in season 4 when he puts on a jacket very dramatically and epic music is playing. I also added some more details to Eren's body, and I went over the wall behind him because it seemed a little too pale for me compared to all the other vibrant colors around. Moving on to the next part, which is also the most fun, the best part of this video, the golden halo. In previous works I used gold leaf, but I wanted this halo to be a bit more subtle and less shiny, so instead I used Richardson Art metallic watercolors, and I absolutely love them because they're so easy to use and very opaque. I chose a warm tone of gold, one that is a bit more orange, because I think it looks very nice with the flames. I laid a pretty thick layer of paint so it will be uniform and not transparent. So I had to be extremely careful to stay within the lines, because if I don't, I can't really cover it up. It was a slow process that took a lot of concentration, but the result is definitely worth it. This metallic watercolor reflects the light very softly, and it is a very beautiful detail to this painting. Once the gold color dried, I started filling in the tracery, which is the black part between the window panels when it's like actual stained glass. Something very interesting I learned in art history about Gothic cathedrals and stained glass is that in the beginning the tracery was really thick, but later on as the churches wanted more vibrant and more grandiose stained glass windows, the tracery became gradually more and more thin until at some point it was almost invisible, and some churches even collapsed because there was literally more glass than wall. I'm using Kuretake black ink, And here again I had to be very careful not to paint inside the watercolor part. I started by pretty much carefully framing all the watercolor elements and then filling all the empty space with ink. I didn't film the entire process because just like the golden halo, it was very slow and took a lot of concentration, and to be honest, it's really hard for me to do all these small complicated details when there's a camera so close to me. After painting the tracery, I realized that some watercolor parts are not vibrant enough, they're really pale, and it wasn't that visible when everything around was white, but when it's black, it's really noticeable. So I did a few more layers of watercolor to make the colors more vibrant. That included the Titan's eyes and the basement key, and unsurprisingly, Eren himself was way too pale for this painting. And also the wall is just really gray. I needed it to be a bit more colorful. Also, remember that little issue I briefly mentioned in the beginning of the video about the line art? So what happens is that some watercolor paint is a bit more opaque than others, some are more transparent, and after you layer and you paint, some of it just covers the line art and it fades underneath all the layers of watercolor, and I have to go over it again so the black will actually be black and the tracery will be visible. And it's not like it's an unfixable issue, but it's just very inconvenient, and it's such a waste of my time going over the same line art that is already there. So I'll have to figure out a better way to do this. Once I'm done with strengthening the watercolor, I add some very small details and final touches and kind of texture using Prismacolor pencils. I focused mostly on Eren because after all he is the main subject of this painting, and as such he needs the most detail and most work on. My goal here was simply to fix some parts that didn't turn out as well as I want them to, and also to strengthen the color and the shading in certain areas. For example, the really deep strong shadow underneath Eren's eyebrows, it's very prominent in the anime, and I wanted that to be visible in my painting as well. The final finishing touch in this painting was going over the line art and fixing the big mistake I did in the very beginning. This painting has been much more challenging than I expected, but I learned a lot and I think it turned out very well in the end. I made some pretty big mistakes from like the very beginning till the end, and I will not repeat that in future project. I will try to not put too much detail into the line art in the beginning and leave those small parts to the end of the painting once I'm done with the watercolor layer. And also I need to find an alternative to the Koritake ink because I don't like the way it shines. Usually it's okay, but for this painting I want the tracery to not be as shiny, so yeah, I'll have to think about that. My overall opinion about this artwork is very positive. I'm happy with the way it turned out, despite all its little flaws. If you like this painting, I suggest you subscribe to my channel because there will be more coming. Also follow me on Instagram @FairyInBlack, link will be in the description. If you wish to support what I do, I also have an Etsy shop and a Patreon where I put all the behind the scenes content. Links to that are in the description as well. Thank you for watching, thank you for your support, and I'll see you later. Bye bye!